It was 1 week to Christmas, and the students' hostel was full of noise. Grace, Evelyn, and Luyando were preparing for an exciting adventure, excited about the trip to see their boyfriends in a faraway town of Livingston. But little did the girls know the kind of evil that was waiting for them. This wasn't their first time though. Every year they would travel to meet their boyfriends for Christmas, and it was the only time they saw their boyfriends because they were always busy with school. The girls had worked hard throughout the semester and were looking forward to this brief getaway to have fun with their men. The girls loved it because the city of Livingston was full of fresh air and adventures. It was time to write their final paper and the girls were ready. The final paper was intense. The girls arrived at the exam hall with their hearts pounding and their minds racing through the vast amount of information they had crammed. The quiet, tense atmosphere of the exam hall, the rustling of paper, and the occasional sigh of a fellow student created a palpable sense of pressure. They felt the weight of their futures resting on their ability to recall and apply everything they had learned. Grace, the natural leader of the group, found herself calming her friends' nerves before the paper. "We've got this, guys," she said, her voice steady. "We've prepared for this moment. Let's give it our best shot." The girls finally managed to write the paper and hand it over in time. Grace, Evelyn, and Luyando had just finished their final exams at Crescent University. It had been a grueling few weeks, filled with late-night study sessions, endless cups of tea, and the constant pressure to excel. But now, with their exams behind them, a sense of relief and excitement washed over them. The girls decided to meet under their favorite baobab tree, just within the university. A place that had witnessed countless moments of their friendship over the years. As they walked towards the tree, each step felt lighter, their spirits lifted by the freedom that awaited them. The tree stood tall and proud, its wide branches providing a welcoming shade from the scorching sun. Grace was the first to speak. "Can you believe it's finally over?" she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "We've been through so much together, guys." Evelyn nodded in agreement. "Yes, we have. And now we have to plan our travel to see our men for Christmas holidays. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to see my man. I miss him so much." As they continued to brainstorm, their plan began to take shape. They decided to travel early in the morning on a Friday, reaching by the afternoon. Evelyn suggested they bring small gifts for their boyfriends. "It doesn't have to be anything big, just something to show we were thinking of them," she said. The girls agreed and decided to craft personalized gifts, knowing their boyfriends would appreciate the thoughtfulness. But little did the girls know that this year would be different, and in a terrible and tragic way. The girls finished discussing and went to their hostels. When Grace got home, she was busy packing clothes and cooking snacks for the journey. She always prepared everything days ahead to make sure nothing was forgotten. But there was one thing she always worried about. Her friends never prayed. "Hey guys, please let us pray for just 1 minute," she said as she folded clothes into a bag. Evelyn waved her hand like she was chasing a fly. "Stop disturbing me. God knows we are traveling. He doesn't need us to remind him to protect us," Evelyn said while laughing. Luyando chuckled. "Oh, Grace, you're always so serious. We will be fine. We've got it. And it's a beautiful day. Nothing to worry about." Grace's heart felt heavy as she looked at her friends and shook her head in disbelief. "Why can't my friends understand me?" she whispered to herself. But despite their dismissive responses, Grace bowed her head and knelt, quietly said a prayer, asking for safety and guidance on their journey. Grace was the prayer warrior of the group. She always prayed for her friends and family, asking God to protect them. But deep in her heart, she wished her friends would join her too. even just once, especially that they were traveling. The hostel was full of laughter and excitement as the girls talked about what they would do to their boyfriends in Livingstone. As the days to Christmas grew closer, the girls didn't know that something was waiting for them on the road ahead, something that would test their faith and change their lives forever. As the days passed, the anticipation grew. They talked about their plans during every chance they got. The trip became the highlight of their conversations, a beacon of joy that kept them motivated through their waiting stage. 5 days before traveling one evening, as Grace sat in her dorm, she decided to call her mother and tell a little white lie. She took a deep breath and dialed her mother's number, her heart pounding with nervousness. "Hello, Mom," Grace greeted cheerfully when her mom answered. "Hello, my dear. How are you?" her mother replied warmly. "I'm fine, Mom. I just wanted to let you know that the school has decided not to give us a break for the December holidays this year. They want us to stay and prepare for our final exams." Grace lied, trying to keep her voice steady. Her mother sounded surprised. "No break at all? That's unusual. Are you sure, Grace?" "Yes, Mom. The principal announced it today. I am really disappointed, but there's nothing we can do," Grace continued, feeling a pang of guilt. Her mother sighed. "Well, I suppose if it's for your education, it's important. We will miss you, but I understand." "Thank you, Mom. I'll miss you too," Grace said, her voice softening. "I'll call you every other day." After hanging up, Grace felt a mix of relief and guilt. She hated lying to her mother, but the thought of spending the holidays with Jonathan, her boyfriend, made her heart race with excitement. She prayed a silent prayer so that she could not feel guilty. Deep down her heart, Grace thought that God would understand. One evening, Evelyn was walking to the hostel after braiding her friend's hair so that she could make some money to buy more gifts for her boyfriend. But as Evelyn was walking, she saw an old, dirty man standing by the roadside, waving his hand for help. His hair was thick and tangled with a mass of gray, framing a face that speaks of wisdom and hardship. He wore a tattered, dirty, streaked clothes that hung loosely on his thin frame, giving him an air of neglect. His hands were rough and calloused, evidence of years of hard labor. Evelyn walks towards the old man. "Excuse me, sir, where are you going?" she asked. "My daughter," his voice tired. "I am going down the next street, but my walking stick was stolen and I can't walk without it. Can you take me there?" Evelyn nodded. "Of course, sir. Let me hold your hand. Use my hand for support." For a while, they walked in silence, the only sound coming from the birds chirping outside. Then the old man cleared his throat. "My daughter," he began softly, "I hope you won't be angry with what I'm about to say." Evelyn glanced at the old man, curious what it was. The old man took a deep breath. "This Christmas, you should not travel to wherever you want to go. And if you must travel, you and your friends must pray and fast before the journey. There is a very huge danger ahead." His words hung in the air like smoke. Evelyn laughed out loud. Her loud laugh made the old man's face tighten. "Excuse me, sir. You want me to stop my friends from going to Livingstone to have a good time? No way this is happening. This is not the first time that we've traveled for Christmas. In fact, we do this almost every other year. Nothing will happen," Evelyn said, shaking her head. The old man looked at Evelyn, her eyes dark and serious. "I've said what I came to say. The rest is up to you, my daughter." When they reached the destination, Evelyn left and the man went his way. The man turned to her one last time. "Thank you for the help, my daughter, but please remember my words. Pray and fast if you must go." As Evelyn walked away, she thought to herself, why do people like to scare others with these stories? Evelyn convinced herself that the man was just being superstitious or trying to sound wise. After all, the girls had made this trip many times before and nothing had ever happened to them, so why should something happen to them now? It was 3 days to Christmas and the hostel was buzzing with excitement. Bags were packed and stacked by the door, filled with clothes, gifts, and snacks for the long journey. Grace, as usual, suggested that they say a prayer for a safe journey before they set off. I think it would be good for us to pray for protection and blessings on our trip, she said earnestly. Luyando laughed and said, "Oh, Grace, not again. You are always so serious. We will be fine. We are just going to have fun and enjoy our time with our men." Evelyn shrugged. "Yeah, I don't think we need to pray. It is so unnecessary." With their bags packed, the girls made their way to the bus station. The hustle and bustle of the bus added to their excitement. They boarded the bus to Livingstone. The girls had boarded a brightly colored bus named Safari Star, driven by an experienced but aging driver named Mr. Mwangi. The air was filled with excitement and chatter as passengers settled into their seats, ready for the long journey ahead. Mr. Mwangi, a friendly and jovial man, greeted each passenger with a warm smile as they boarded. As the girls found their seats and stored their bags, Mr. Mwangi climbed into the driver's seat and turned the key in the ignition. To everyone's surprise, the bus engine sputtered and groaned but refused to start. He tried again, but the bus remained stubbornly silent. Seeing the worried looks on his passengers' faces, Mr. Mwangi stepped out of the bus and opened the engine compartment. He checked the battery, fiddled with the wires, and inspected the spark plugs, but nothing seems to work. The engine remains dead and the mood among the passengers started to shift from excitement to concern. But Mr. Mwangi was confused as to why the car couldn't start because just the previous day, the car was taken for servicing and everything was okay. Grace, sitting by the window, turns to her friend Luyando with a thoughtful expression. "Maybe God doesn't want us to travel this festive season," she said quietly. Her words were a mix of worry and reflection. Luyando, ever the optimist, shook her head with a small smile. "Come on, Grace, it's just a little hiccup. We'll be on our way very soon. Have faith." As Mr. Mwangi continues to work on the engine, passengers began to murmur amongst themselves, speculating about what might be wrong. Luyando, known for her carefree nature, tried to lighten the mood. "Looks like Safari Star needs a little more star power," she joked, eliciting a few chuckles from those nearby. After what felt like an eternity, Mr. Mwangi wiped his brow and climbed back into the driver's seat. He turned the key once more, and this time the engine roared to life. A collective sigh of relief and cheers erupted from the passengers, and Mr. Mwangi gave a thumbs up. "We are good to go, folks. Thank you for your patience," he announced, his smile returning. The girls exchanged grateful glances, their excitement rekindled. As the bus pulled out of the station and began its journey to Livingstone, the mood inside was one of the renewed hope. The engine hummed steadily, and the road ahead seemed filled with endless possibilities. However, as the sun began to set, dark clouds started to gather on the horizon. A heavy rainstorm soon followed, the downpour creating a symphony of raindrops against the bus roof. The road became slick and visibility was poor, but the experienced bus driver pressed on cautiously. Despite the worsening weather, the girls' excitement didn't wane. They continued to chat and laugh, their optimism unwavering. Suddenly, the bus encountered a sharp curve and the driver, struggling to maintain control on the slippery road, swerved to avoid a large pothole. The driver's voice cut through the calm. The brakes are not working," he shouted, his hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. Panic erupted in the bus. Passengers screamed as they both began to swerve uncontrollably, veering from one side of the road to the other. The driver struggled to control the bus, but it was no use. In those moments, time seemed too slow. Grace's voice roared above the chaos, crying out loud, "Save us!" Panic erupted in the bus. Passengers screamed as they both began to swerve uncontrollably, veering from one side of the road to the other. In the process, the bus collided with another car coming from the opposite direction. The impact was jarring, throwing the passengers into a state of shock and confusion. In the moments that followed, there was an eerie silence, broken by the sound of rain and the murmurs of disoriented passengers. The wind carried the news of the accident, whispering it into the waiting ears, but what no one knew yet was who had survived. News of the accident traveled fast like wildfire blown by the wind. It reached the girls' parents in the village. People gathered in small groups, murmuring and shaking their heads. "You hear, Grace and her friends were in a terrible accident," Mama Kate heard the news. She fell to the ground wailing loudly, her wrapper flying as she beat her chest. "Oh, my friend's daughter Grace, what have we done to deserve this?" she cried, her voice rising for all to hear, but deep inside her, a wicked joy danced. She never liked the fact that her friend's child, Grace, went to a good university, while her own children were just roaming in the village, doing drugs and causing problems. "Now we are both the same. Her child is probably dead. No one will come and overshadow my children," she told herself, her tears nothing but a mask at the crash site. Help finally arrived among the wreckage. Grace and Luyando were found shaken but untouched. Not a single bruise or scratch marked their skin, but they were in a state of shock and they couldn't talk. They just lay there. It was as if an invisible hand had shielded them from harm. Evelyn, however, was not so lucky. She had been sitting in the front seat, and the force of the collision had crushed her legs and left arm. She was alive, but her legs and one hand were gone. The rescuers rushed her to the hospital. A number of passengers had lost their lives on the spot. The injuries were severe, and the doctors worked through the night to save her life. By the morning, Evelyn was awake, but she was very weak. The girls' parents, upon hearing the news, rushed to the hospital, their faces etched with worry and anger. When they arrived, they were relieved to find their daughters alive, but were furious when they learned the truth behind the trip. Late that day, the old man Evelyn had helped days before walked into the hospital room. His steps were slow, but his presence was strong. He stood by her bedside, his eyes full of knowing. "Do you remember me?" he asked Evelyn. Evelyn nodded weakly. "Yes, sir." The old man sat down and began to speak. "My daughter, I told you not to go to Livingston this Christmas. I warned you to pray and fast, but you did not listen." The man shook his head, his voice soft and firm. "If not for your friend's prayers, you would have been gone by now." Evelyn's eyes were filled with tears and regret. Let this be a lesson. Never underestimate the power of prayer. Never ignore the warnings of God. From that day, Evelyn changed. Once she was discharged from the hospital, she, together with her friends, changed. Grace was so scared because she didn't know how she was going to explain to her parents about what had transpired. After ensuring the girls were stable, their parents sat them down for a stern talk. Grace's mother spoke first, her voice trembling with emotion. "You lied to us. Do you understand how dangerous that was? You could have been killed." Grace's father added, "We trusted you and you broke our trust. This accident could have been avoided if only you had been honest with us in the first place." Grace's mother's tears streaming down her face said, "We love you and want to protect you. Please never lie to us again. Your safety is more important than anything else." Grace, filled with guilt and remorse, apologized to her parents. She realized the gravity of her actions and the pain that she had caused. The accident had been a harsh lesson, but it had also brought her closer to her parents. The other girls also apologized to their parents. Evelyn was grateful that she was still alive, despite losing her legs and one hand. Every morning, the girls and their families thanked God for His mercy in prayer. The story of the girls' accident and miraculous survival spread far and wide. It became a lesson for many, a reminder that prayer is the strongest weapon against unseen dangers, and that not everyone rejoices in your success. It is also a lesson for young girls to be open and honest with their parents and everything they do. Meanwhile, when Mama Kate heard the news that Grace survived, she was furious and heartbroken. She looked at her children and sighed. She spent the rest of her days always stressed and unhappy. This is the end of the story. I want you to tell me the lessons that you've learned from this story, because personally, it is a lot, and despite the fact that this is a festive season, a lot of things happen. So please tell me in the comment section what you've learned about the story, and I'll see you in my next one. So for now, please stay safe. This is a festive season. A lot of things happen. If not anything, I would really advise you to stay home. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. For now, bye.